morning, everybody. I'm sorry about Tuesday's coffee. Short story, as you know how those go. I went downstairs after recording to get everything going, and lo and behold, somehow, some way, my subscription lapsed to Premiere, which is weird because, and I hate how the model has gone. Instead of paying one lump sum of like $200, $300 for these kind of programs, you have to pay a subscription. And I have a card on file for the subscription, and for some reason, it didn't take the money that was on the card for the subscription. So I went downstairs to find that, and rather than do the obvious thing, which is just add another card to the account just so I could get started, I'm like, hey, you know what? I got Vegas. I got 2018 Sony Vegas Steam Edition. Why don't I just use that? So I used it, and even with the high-end computer that I now have, it is an absolute mess slog of a program, which is kind of depressing, but at the same time, I mean, you know, it's 2018, so, but still, even with the most maxed out computer humanly possible in 2018, it was still going to perform like shit, which is kind of sad. I'm going to take this down. I want to take this down to a 16. I'm going to take this down to 16 grams. I want to see how that performs. Yesterday we had some mixed results with an 18 gram and then a 17 gram. And I'm sorry, I'm looking for a coffee bean. I'll find it later. So we'll take it down to 16. We're also going to heat up our brew chamber. When that gets to about 160, we'll heat up the brew chamber, and we'll heat up our portafilter here after we clean it up just a little bit. So yeah, so I went downstairs, I did all that, and you know, it was fine. I kind of got back into the groove of using it, because that's what I used prior to Premiere, was I used that, which wasn't such a bad program, to be honest with you. It was just antiquated, and it took forever to render. So I went to the render part, started rendering, saw it was going to take about a half hour, the estimation was, so I went upstairs. And I came back down about 45 minutes later, because I was watching a video, it was about 45 minutes long, and it got up to 28% and then stopped, but the timer was still ticking. And the timer of how long it had been processing was still ticking. The timer for the ticking of how long it's going to take to finish had gone to 0, but it was still sitting at 28%. So after 45 minutes, it had just done 28% and then stopped. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is not going to work anymore. So I exited. I had to quit the program through the task manager because it wouldn't shut down by itself. That is kind of the point that it had gotten to. So I still have the footage. And I have Premiere back today, so we're going to be off by a day. So yesterday's will be today, today's will be tomorrow, tomorrow's will be Friday. So you'll get a Friday coffee if that's your bag. So, and I'm sorry about that. I should have just switched over to another card for Premiere, but I just got into my head, you know what? There's this program that I bought. It was cheap at the time. I think it was only like $100 on sale on Steam back in like 2019, 2020, something like that. So I've been using that for the longest time, and then I'm like, much like my coffee game, I need something that'll process these things a little faster and has a couple more pieces to it that I can use, like better transitions, better audio, because you can go right from Premiere Pro into the audio program. If you just like select and right click on the audio track, you can just automatically open that up in another program and start filling with it. So it's actually kind of nice like that. There we go. Let's 160 on the dot. Get ourselves some heat going through the portafilter. Get ourselves some heat in the brew chamber. Give us the best possible chances to make good coffee that we can. So that's what happened. And again, I'm sorry about that. I generally like to get it out, get the upload started. Usually if it's a 1080p video, it'll take 20 minutes, which means I've got time to do other things. And then I'll come back at like 2:30 and start the stream that I do for 3 to 4 hours Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday that I have fun doing. But yesterday just kind of, I ran out of time for the editing and the rendering and the uploading. Because once you render something in a timeline, or once you've created something, it is just a raw file, and you need to use the processor on the computer to render it into something like a .mpg or a .mov or that kind of thing, in order to upload it into YouTube. And 1080p usually goes quicker. Sometimes I like to do 4K, especially if I'm doing like stuff that I've taken like on vacation on the iPhone to just to keep the clarity, because you'd be surprised at how many people actually watch on their TVs. A good percentage. Most people watch them on tablets. A lot of people watch it on the phone, but a good amount of people actually watch it on their TV, which is kind of fun and funny. So at the same time, I want to be able to get them and everybody the highest quality that I can possibly get at the time. So I try. It's the best I can do. And money, and there's nothing in my pockets. Okay, I tried. Two people won the $1.7 billion lottery. I think one was in Missouri and the other was in Texas. So Virginia, if you're watching and you won the lottery, congratulations. I hope, I hope invest the majority of it, but keep a lot of it, and do whatever you want. Go more often down to South America. Actually, I think she's like just east of Cozumel or something like that. There's this place that she likes to go. I don't know. She's a good friend of mine. Her family's amazing. So Virginia, if you won, call me. No, don't call me. That's a lie. We're good. We don't need anything. We've never won the lottery, but we're okay. So I don't beg, borrow. I might steal every once in a while, but I certainly don't beg or borrow. So I have no qualms with stealing from some folks. Anyway. Did I say that out loud? I said that out loud. All right, so this is the 16 grams of espresso ground coffee. I'm going to fluff that up a little bit, stamp it down, and then tamp it down. 16 might be a magic spot. I don't know. I guess we'll see here in a second. This got nice and warm. So we're going to get it down, smooth it around, and then give it a nice solid tamp. There we go. Cool. Let's see what that does. That's pretty exciting. I'm hoping for more water out. With this device, it just feels like more water out means more coffee out, more coffee water out means that I've kind of hit a target where it's not going to be too bitter. I think it would be incredibly difficult to make any kind of an espresso unless you don't add the coffee. It's difficult to make any kind of espresso that is not dark water, you know, unless you're passing it through something that's not coffee. Has anyone ever tried putting tea through an espresso machine? Excuse me. I wonder how that would go. Might be interesting. All right, so let's get going here. Now it is packed tight, but there is less coffee for it to pass through. So we'll see how this goes. It looks pretty promising. I'm up to 5 bars. Boy, the pressure drops so fast. I may want to consider backing it back to a 17 or an 18 if I want more coffee water to come out. See, there was still pressure there too. Let's back this down to an 18. So, well, you know what? 16 grams of coffee in, 32 grams of coffee water out. That's a 1-to-2 ratio. That's pretty good, I think, depending on what you're really looking for. The flavor is nice. As a matter of fact, let's pull this out of here. 0, por favor. Come on, there you go. All right, so we're gonna see what we got out of that. Well, we saw what we got out of it. I didn't sip that much, did I? Well, that's confusing. It said 32 grams on it. It's very confusing. I've changed the batteries on this thing, so I don't know. I don't know what it's doing. We're definitely going to go to the gym today. The royal we are going to go to the gym today. So, all right. Splash. Splash. It's almost the witching season, isn't it? If you go to Costco, it's already the Christmas season. We walked in on Monday when we went out to get stuff. The Christmas stuff was up already. I'm like, what is going on? They deflated the poor Bluey Halloween balloons, even though it's not even October yet. They may have been getting ready to close for the night, and those may be the first things that need to come down as those inflatables. Those inflatables may take a little longer than they like. Or in their routine, when they added the balloons, the first couple of nights they forgot to deflate them, and they ran all night long. So, and maybe the store manager or the manager of that department didn't appreciate that too much. So the routine was added. We need, oh gosh, look at the cracks in that. I don't know if I think that's a bad thing. You definitely don't want cracks, because you get channeling if you get cracks. Which is really weird, because I thought I packed it fairly well. I don't know. Very strange. We'll try again. I thought I packed it. fairly well. Maybe I packed it too tight. Did you ever think of that? No, I didn't think of that. Thank you. So, yeah. I was just I was just saying that because potion making. I feel like I was making a potion there real quick. It was really funny. It's got wet under here, didn't it? Oh, interesting. Must have been when I purged the brew chamber when it was just full of water. That would make sense. So I was this morning I was reminded of something that we saw. It was a panel that we watched at Star Trek Las Vegas, and it just reminded me. I got reminded this morning because people were talking about accountability with AI and like Chat GPT stuff, and it reminded me of a story one of the panelists told about a boy who was already, young, like 12, 13, 14 years old, who was already on the edge of being, he was suicidal already. And he didn't feel comfortable talking to his parents, as many teenagers don't, about it. Now, I don't know the reasoning behind that. It could have been an abusive relationship. It could have been, he's just a teenager full of angst and just couldn't bring himself to tell his parents out of fear that they would, reject him for being weak, that kind of thing. And parents don't know that that's happening. That could be something that's instilled by peers, the other kids. You can't tell your family. Your family will think you're sad and weak and yada yada yada. It's just something that kids do. Kids are horrible today, made worse by the internet. I think I've mentioned many times how I am so glad we did not have phones that had cameras on them, or phones period, to be honest with you. The worst that we had to deal with at school. Unless it was at like a sporting event, after school thing, we never had to deal with our bullies outside of school. And then these days, that's not even remotely possible anymore. Which I feel really bad about for children everywhere. But so he just gotten to the point where he was just very upset and logged on to Chat GPT or whatever chat so apparently, and this is what really gets me aggravated. Apparently, one of the settings you can put on one of these chat bot things is you can select like profiles, like, I don't know, like female voice, male voice, or I think that they said that one of the drop downs for this specific chat thing that he was talking back and forth to was psychiatrist. And you can select psychiatrist and talk to someone, I guess, who's in like a more psychiatrist voice or maybe more of a targeted, maybe tonality in the voice or responses. The responses are more analytical, that kind of a thing, with zero knowledge of being a psychiatrist. So he was talking to this Chat GPT. Or I say Chat GPT. It may have been that. It may have been one of the other more popular ones. That's the only one that I'm really aware of, to be honest with you. I guess there's a Grok. Maybe he was talking to Grok. Does Grok have that kind of a drop down where you can change their voice and how they respond to questions? It just sounds like a Grok thing because that whole X and Musk thing is completely like off the rails with the things that they've been doing, if you've been paying attention to that. Or if you haven't been paying attention to that, good for you. Don't bother, stay away from it. Anyway, so he was talking to that chat program, and somehow, some way, the algorithm talked him into suicide. And he killed himself. And okay, so we hold back on our regular programming to bring you coffee. This may bring out more coffee, but it's definitely not going to be as much pressure. Oh no, it may not be as much coffee, or maybe the exact same amount of coffee. I really need to find a balance here. It feels like I got a balance and a thing going, and then I got other accoutrements, and now we're kind of sitting on mediocrity at best, because that was a smaller grind, same amount of water, packed the same way, and we got the same amount of coffee out. Let's see if it tastes better. Now let's give it a stir first. Not as much crema, because again, it didn't go up to 5 bars. It may have gone up to 3. But it's a lot less bitter. It's a little more pleasant. I think the grind may have been a part of that. It's just the problem is it's just not getting up to a decent enough pressure, for one, and then not enough juice is coming out, for 2. So we'll just add that to our brew cup here. We'll drink that. Don't worry about it. All right, that's our 2 tries, I think. We'll squeeze this out now. And what was brought up during that whole thing, but nobody pushed back on. I mean, by the time I got the wherewithal to push back, they were done with questions and they were wrapping everything up and it was over with. And I should have cornered one of them, because I saw the panelists several more times outside of the panel. I should have just broke my normal habit of not bothering folks outside of panels and stuff like that, and just been like, can you answer this for me? So they were talking about ethics, and then they had a lawyer up there for AI. They had somebody from Google who worked on the AI program, or still works on the AI program, who said, time over and over again, I can't respond to anything Google's doing, but I can say this, which was wishy-washy at best and aggravating at worst. So they brought this story up, and I just wanted to be like, what about the ethics? Do the people that program Grok have any accountability for making one of the drop-downs psychiatrist? Because that's a physical choice. They have to be like, we'll just make one of these choices psychiatrist. And, they have all of those, we are not responsible, we are not this, we are not that, but that holds about as much water as someone in a dump truck with no covering on the top of it, slapping not responsible for broken windshields with an unsecured load on the back end of it. An AI, something that is not peer-reviewed, and worse, I'll tell you what's worse, and this popped up in my head. What's worse is how potentially that conversation the child had with the voice on the other side of the phone that was not human could be used for marketing purposes. There's no guarantee at all that anything you are saying back and forth to this phone, to this voice, as I Shatner a little bit, that you're talking back to this AI with, none of that is protected. All of it can be used for marketing. So whether it's a grocery list or asking for advice with regards to mental health, physical health, dating, all of that stuff is sellable because we're not the customers, we're the product. When it comes to social media, you're not the target. Your pictures, your daily posts saying where you are and what you've eaten, all of that is sold to companies so that they can target ads to you. That's why this stuff is free. That's why you're not paying a subscription for a Facebook or a Threads or an X or Instagram or TikTok. That's why all of their services are mainly free. They do have upgraded services, but the bulk of the service that you can get is free because you are the one that is being targeted by marketing companies in order to, and it sounds like conspiracy theory, it does, it really does, but it's the honest truth. We are what is being marketed in these social media platforms. And it's so entrenched into our daily lives. We'll post on Facebook what we're doing, where we're going, where we've been. We'll post pictures of our families. And since we have all of our families in our circle, maybe we think this is only going to our families. And then we'll turn around and, we'll clear the cache on our iPhone. We'll clear the cache on our tablets. We'll clear the cache on our PCs. We'll say, this is the reason I stay off the internet as much as I can. At the same time, you're posting pictures on Facebook. At the same time, you're on Instagram, putting stuff on Instagram. You're holding a phone in your hand that can at any point turn on its microphone. And I'm not saying don't trust the phone or you don't use it. I'm just saying you should be aware that as much as you are trying to disconnect, and not be on the internet and not all that stuff, and you've got the friends who are very much into that kind of thing, and then they pull out a Google phone or they pull out an iPhone, and and then they're using that phone. And then we sign all of these agreements sight unseen. We're not reading the 50 pages, thousands of paragraphs of what they do and they don't do with your data. So, yeah, and that's, and it sounds like a wild conspiracy theory kind of weird thing, but we are what is bought and sold. And the thought that poor child's conversation with that AI listed under the drop down of psychiatrist can be bought and sold for marketing purposes is incredibly sad. And I'm so glad I didn't grow up in this time. And I feel terrible for all of the folks that do. Because the media literacy, you would think that stuff would go up. You would think that as more technology comes out and more people are being monitored and, they're not covering up that monitoring. This isn't the operator taking a jack out of one thing and putting it in another and then putting her jack right next to that so she can listen into your conversation. It's not that secret-y stuff. It's not party line stuff like it used to be. It's billions of petabytes being saved and stored. The internet does not go away. Mabel will die, probably from all the coffee and cigarettes that she smokes while she's listening to your conversations. And all those conversations will die with her. But, the internet's forever. There really needs to be some kind of a social media literacy class introduced so that kids can know how to protect themselves. And sometimes sometimes you can't protect yourself. People will dox you for taking a parking space. I wrote that in a book that's probably never going to see the light of day, but I still wrote it, and I'm pretty proud of that line. Pretty proud of that line. They'll dox you for a parking space. It just really bothered me to hear this panel say that and then no one pushed back. I mean, the wishy-washy, I work for Google, so I can't say much about it. Nobody pushed back on that. Where's the accountability? What happens to that child's conversation after? I mean, you're sending a copy of it to the police, but it's a copy. It's still right there. It's still on their servers and can be bought and sold. So, I mean, I've seen organizations that have a "we don't share your data" policy fold and get bought out. And now somebody else has your data and they don't have that policy. So, I mean, it shifts with the wind. And it's really, really aggravating. Well, that's that rant today on your Thursday. It just hits you hard. It hits you if you sit down and you think about it, and you have the ability to critically think about something like that. It doesn't even take a lot of critical thinking. It just takes the ability to see how your past life was as a teenager, as a child, and see what everybody else is doing today as a teenager, as a child, and be like, oh my God, it's wild. It's wild. The difference 20 years made is insane. I mean, we think the jump from record players to CDs is huge. Record players dominated for how many years before we innovated into CDs for, commercial use at the very least, How long did reel-to-reel tapes function as a way of preserving memory for computers before we moved to the platter hard drive? How many decades was that? But in 20 years, we moved from being relatively safe from that kind of stuff to it being everywhere now, and kids don't have a moment's peace. And I feel really bad for them. All of them. And I really think that we should probably consider a media literacy class, starting maybe in 8th grade. Maybe even in 7th grade. If you have the middle school thing where you go to middle school and you change classes, have an elective class on social media literacy, because it's wild, and you get surprised by it. So I'm fairly computer literate, and I'm still surprised every day. Anyway, enough of me waffling. This was okay. I'll do another coffee tomorrow. We'll do another coffee through the rock tomorrow, and that'll be tasty. This was not bad. I just don't know if this may just be really good for a pour over, and that's kind of it. It may not be great for, brew. Your preferred brew method: pour over, French press, drip machine, or espresso. Well, and you know what? In an espresso machine, it's probably great. In this device, you only have so much to work with. You only got so much pressure you can put out, and there's only so much coffee in this bag to where you can get to a point where maybe it'll work for you. What are you gonna do? We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.